This video is sponsored by Neural DSP. All of the guitar tracks you just heard were recorded with the Archetype Tim Henson plugin. Try those tones out for yourself instantly by downloading my presets and your trial of the plugin for free via the links in the description box. Let me start this video off by saying that I am not a full-time session guitar player, so take everything I say here with a pinch of salt. I want to talk about why the solos you're recording for your original project, your friend's band, or an artist who's hired you for a recording session might potentially suck. But I don't want to just slam you and your potentially solos. I want to help you realize why they might be less than ideal for the songs in question, and I'm going to give you some tips for recording better guitar solos. And I'm going to do that by deconstructing two solos that I recorded over the same track. This is the track that you just heard in the intro. It's something that I threw together for this video, and I feel like it's got a bit of a modern soft rock mixed with Linkin Park vibe to it. So let's take a listen to solo number 1. There is so much wrong with that solo that I don't know quite where to begin, but perhaps listening to the isolated backing track would be a good start. All right, so this is the solo section of the track. Let's take a listen to it together. This is the start of it. It's very sparse, just bass, constant eighth notes, and rim shots and quiet hi-hats. Now the kick drum pattern starts to get a bit more developed. Now we've got some palm muted guitars coming in, and the drums have moved to a more full-on steady rock beat. We're going to have a big build up here, building in intensity. Then we're back into the chorus. So as you just heard, the solo section appears right after the chorus, and there's a noticeable change in dynamic when it starts. The drums go from full-on snare hits and constant ride cymbal to really quiet hi-hats and rim shots with a very minimal kick drum pattern. And we also go from having 4 guitar tracks and bass to just bass guitar and drums together. The solo I demonstrated earlier immediately fails to hit the mark because there's just too much happening too fast. There's no breathing room whatsoever. I start way up the fretboard with a heavy pick attack, and I neglect to play anything that actually sounds catchy. All of that combined over the soft, sparse backing of the track, it just doesn't work. When you have a solo section that starts like this one, take that as your moment to shine, but not in a show-off kind of way where you feel like it's an opportunity to showcase a fancy new lick that you learned yesterday on YouTube by watching me, maybe. You can shine by simply serving the song, and what I mean by that is playing something that fits the mood, tempo, and overall feel of the track. Essentially, you want your solo to gel with the other instruments in the mix. Let's now take a listen to the start of another solo that I recorded over this same track. What I play there is very understated and chilled out, just like the bass and drum parts are in that part of the solo section. The melody that I play on the top 2 strings could even be used as another rhythm guitar part elsewhere in the track. That's how understated it is. And by the way, members of bulletproofguitarplayer.com have instant access to the backing track for this video, as well as a transcription of this solo with tab and notation. The link to sign up with a subscription plan and access all of my instructional content is in the description description box beneath the video. Also notice how in the chorus before the solo, there's these double-tracked guitar parts that are the same melody just played in 2 different octaves with this nice chorusy clean tone, and they're just playing constant 8th notes. And then when the solo section comes and those parts fade away, the bass guitar takes over with that driving 8th note feel. So when I was writing that solo, I instinctively did the same thing and adopted those driving 8th notes to start my solo with. That same part is memorable too because I'm repeating a few different notes on the B string with the open high E string ringing out at the same time. Compared to the start of the first solo, which is just forgettable minor pentatonic chaos that no one is going to hum along to or remember. Another reason why the first solo was terrible is because it was recorded with a tone that is really inappropriate for the track. It sounds overly saturated, there's way too much delay for no reason, and reverb, and the chorus is just unnecessary. It's like I've used an 80s hair metal tone over an early 2000s modern rock song. The playing is ridiculous enough and the tone just makes it stick out like a sore thumb even more. The second solo actually uses the same amp model in the Archetype Tim Henson plugin, but with a lot less gain, no chorus. There is delay and reverb, but the delay is actually there for a reason, as you'll find out soon enough. Again, you can try this preset out for yourself using the Archetype Tim Henson plugin via the links in the description box. Then, as the solo progresses, I launch into this sequence of unison bends that climbs up the fretboard on the top 2 strings. Let's listen to that part again. Now that last part there is another example of me trying to create something that's memorable because I'm using a motif. I'm creating a motif out of this phrase. So I finish on this note the first time, and then the second time I play it, I ascend the fretboard. I also made the decision to double track a harmony over that part. I literally just play that same motif an octave higher, which I think sounds quite tasty. During those bars, the kick drum pattern starts to develop, and then after that, the drums move to a harder hitting basic rock beat that abandons the quiet rim shots and adopts this driving kick and snare pattern. So the solo section is really starting to build at this point, and I also added in these really dry, crunchy, palm muted power chords that I double tracked to complement the more assertive drum beat. So now that the track has actually built a bit of momentum, the pentatonic licks from the first solo wouldn't actually sound too out of place over this part. If you wanted to play some crazy pentatonic stuff high up the fretboard, as a general rule of thumb, I wouldn't advise starting your solo that way unless the other instrumentation is also very high energy at that point in the solo section. If you're tasked with playing a solo over this kind of backing track where you can tell that it starts off pretty quiet and sparse but then progressively builds momentum, you should try doing the same with your solos. Don't come in all guns blazing right from the get-go. Start with the same energy of the other instruments in the track and build the intensity with them. Now, here's what I played over that part of the track where the drums build in intensity and those palm muted power chords come in. I bring back the unison bends on the top two strings, which is sort of a callback to earlier in the solo when I played this. So now I'm bringing back those bends, but up here. And I also repeat some of those bends to make it more memorable. Earlier, when I mentioned that I'm using delay for a reason in this solo, this was the part I was referring to. You can clearly hear those repeats after each of those unison bends, and I feel like they are actually adding something to the solo. So far, we've got 3 memorable moments in this solo. This part at the start. Then this motif up here, which was double tracked with a harmony an octave higher. And we also have these repeating unison bends up here. And to finish the solo, I actually referenced one of the rhythm guitar parts from the chorus that I played for you earlier on, using that spacey, chorusy tone. Now, as you can see, I don't play it exactly the way that it's played in the chorus, but I do add in some vibrato to build the intensity a little bit. And when the solo reaches its climax, I play these double stop bends. So if I can take everything I've demonstrated in this video by comparing the two solos and condensing it all into a few tips for writing better solos, one tip would be to actually just spend some time listening to the solo section first before you try playing anything. Listen to it, pay attention to how busy the track is and the dynamics of the instruments, and if there are any changes in dynamics as the solo section progresses. If there are changes, try and reflect them with what you play in your solo. So if the track starts with a high intensity but then mellows out towards the end, try and match that high intensity at the start and wind down a bit with the other instruments when they do. Same goes for the other way around. If it starts out real mellow and then builds to a climax, save all of your big fancy licks for the end where they'll actually have some impact and sound appropriate. And of course, always try to get in at least one memorable moment. This could just be a simple phrase that you repeat a couple of different times and alter in various ways. Or maybe you could go further and harmonize a phrase like I did in my solo at one point. You want your solo to feel like an integral part of the song and not just 8 bars of killing time. That is all for today. If you want to grab the presets used in this video for free, click the links in the description box to download your free trial of the Neural DSP Archetype Tim Henson plugin. And if you want to get the tab and backing track for this video, the link to sign up to bulletproofguitarplayer.com is in the description box as well. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more if you aren't subscribed already, and I will see you in the next one.